Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Med School Minutes podcast, where we discuss what it takes to attend and successfully complete a medical program. This show is brought to you by St. James School of Medicine. Here is your host, Kaushik Guha.
Welcome to Med School Minutes, and we are here on the beautiful island of Anguilla today, and we would like to talk to Miss Kelley Hurley, who is, drum roll please, an Olympian, a four-time Olympian, and she's also medaled in 2012. And to be honest, this is the first time I'm meeting an Olympian, and I'm extremely excited about this. And for Kelley, this is just the beginning, because now her aspirations are on medicine. And we want to get to talk to her and understand how she is managing that challenge and what she thinks lies in the future for her. So without any further ado, we'd like to introduce Kelley Hurley. Well, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're extremely busy, and we've been trying to schedule some time with you between studying and your normal regimen. So first of all, how do you like Anguilla?
Oh, I love Anguilla. I mean, when I first looked into the school here, I was like, I'm so excited to come just because it was in Anguilla.
Okay.
And I was disappointed when at first it was offered online.
Okay.
But it turns out online is actually pretty cool. But
Okay.
I was really excited to finally come here in August last year. So I brought my two dogs here. I brought my two cats.
Okay. And they're here with you here. Oh, wow. That's a full-on menagerie.
I brought the whole family. My boyfriend came with me.
Okay.
And
he's here too?
He's here
too.
too.
Okay. That's awesome. How does he like it?
I mean, he loves it. I just actually dropped him off at the beach on the way over here.
Oh,
only
okay.
in one car.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, you're going to have to hang out at the beach for a while. And he was like, oh, darn. So that's just an example of like Anguilla life. We just hang out at the beach whenever we can.
Okay. That's awesome. And so give us a little bit of background about your journey in fencing, when it all began, and how much hard work does it take to be an Olympian? Because, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time I'm actually sitting in a room with an Olympic medalist.
Thank you. Wow, I'm also a three-time world champion.
Oh, okay. And a three-time world champion.
Four-time.
So in your mind, which one is higher as far as prestige is concerned? A world championship or an Olympic medal?
I would say from most people's perspective that aren't in the sports world, I would say Olympics just sounds bigger.
Right.
But in the sports world, world champion, I mean, the competition, the world championships versus the Olympics, it's much tougher at the world championships. There's more people, first of all. For the Olympics, there's kind of a strange qualification process.
Okay.
And so just because, like, let's just say you're 10th in the world, you may not qualify.
Oh.
It's a really strange process because each like country gets a certain amount of athletes to send to honestly, it's tough for me to even understand. So it'd be tough to explain it, but it's a strange qualification process. At the Olympics, there's only like 36 competitors.
Okay.
Whereas at the World Championships, there's 200.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that means if I were an aspiring fencer who wanted to get into, say, the profession, into the sport big time, and you came and said that I'm a world champion, and he or she met another person who was an Olympian, they would be like, yeah, come on. Not a big deal. Olympics is not a big deal.
I don't know. You tell me. You're the normal person here.
Well, I'm talking about an aspiring fencer. The normal person, I think, world championship or Olympics or any professional level sport is amazing. So, I mean, you don't see them. And the most remarkable thing is that this is a challenge that you have taken head on with the fencing, and you've obviously been extremely successful. And then now you are segueing into another extremely challenging profession, which is medicine. So let's start with how did you get into fencing?
So my parents fenced. It was a family sport. My sister fences. I have a younger sister.
Yes.
And we've been on the same teams. I'm a four-time Olympian. She's a three-time Olympian. We got actually our medal in London together. On the team event,
that's awesome.
Which is pretty sweet.
I know.
Only thing better than like one medal is two medals in the family, right?
I know.
So my dad keeps them in his like little storage unit and doesn't let anyone take them. them. So I wish I could have brought it here to show you guys.
Okay.
You never would have let that happen.
No. I mean, you can send us pictures or put some
Yeah,
pictures up. That would be
for
fantastic.
sure, yeah. But yeah, so we did a lot of sports leading up to
Mhm.
eventually just picking fencing. But like I said, my parents fenced, and so it was like inevitable we were gonna eventually
Okay.
start fencing. And we get like older senior fencers back, like way back in the day that knew my parents that
Okay.
would always come up to us these days and say, "Oh, I remember when you were in diapers running around, when your parents were trying to fence, like you were just running around in diapers." And oh, so embarrassing. But now we've separated ourselves. Now people know who we
Okay.
are.
So let me ask you this question. Obviously, your World Championship medals, and you told us how your dad keeps your Olympic medals. How does your dad keep your World Championship medals?
So yeah, we definitely have those also hanging in the house, but the Olympic medals are like locked up.
Okay. So I think that answers my earlier question that it almost seems like an Olympic medal is, for lack of a better term, worth more.
Yeah, well, just in
Then,
case, I check both boxes. Just in case someone's not satisfied with one of them.
Right. So would your dad allow you to bring your World Championship medals down to Angola?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, so and Olympic medals are off the deal.
Well, it's strange coming through like customs here. You never know what they're gonna reach in and
Confiscate.
take out. Yeah, so that would be my biggest fear.
You just wear the medal around your
No.
neck. You just wear the medal around your neck. If they stick you in group 9, it's like, I'm an Olympic medalist here.
I would hope that one would work here.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
The airlines are terrible here. But so that's how you got in. And what was your average day leading up to, say, your first? Did it get easier as you qualified for your first Olympics, then your second one? Was it an easier journey the second time, third time, fourth time?
Yeah, I would say so. As far as qualifying,
Okay.
I knew how to battle my nerves better in the qualification process. Like for London, which is the one we got a medal in, that was actually one I just barely qualified for.
Okay.
And it was ridiculous because I was in the top 2 for my sister and I said, we've been like number 1, number 2 for the past, I don't know, couple decades.
Oh, wow.
We've been up there for a long time. But then when qualification process started, which is a year-long process, I could not get a result to save my life. And you just start spiraling. Okay. Because you just focus on the defeats and you can't pull yourself out of this ditch. And it's a really slippery slope. Okay. So it was tough dealing with that. But then I never had that issue for the next 3 Olympics I qualified for. Okay. I got results right off the bat, got the coast. It was a completely different process the next 3 times.
And what about the work ethic that goes into being qualifying for the Olympics or the amount of training that goes in? Did that get any easier? Did the hours, did you have to, could you relax the hours a little bit from your job? Okay. Wow.
Yeah, in fact, as you get older, you have to train
harder. Okay. Yeah. So that means your first Olympic was physically probably less challenging than your next couple of ones. And how many hours do you normally train for the Olympics?
Well, back to the last thing, I just want to add that as more Olympics under your belt, that actually the pressure, at least that's how I experienced it. Okay. There was more pressure to qualify and keep qualifying and keep qualifying. Everyone expects me to qualify. So it's more of an internalized pressure I put on myself. So I felt I needed to train harder and harder and harder so that I wouldn't, fall short of that. Right. But for how long did I travel? I mean, how long did I train? It would depend. The year qualifying, I would probably be about 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day on constant.
And I'm guessing this probably does not include warm-ups and just
overall being in the training center. No, it didn't include that time. Okay. I'd probably never left. But
so how many hours was that? Just give us from the time you got up in the morning. It seems like more than a full-time job. Yeah, obviously.
It was at the very least a very full-time job. Okay. Yeah, the whole day I'd eat, sleep, and breathe fencing. Okay. Yeah, but it was a lot. Okay. And as you get older, it gets harder and harder. Obviously, right. I don't know. But
I'll never know. I mean,
but just getting out of bed's harder when
that I know.
Are creaking. So I would wake up. I refuse to wake up any earlier than 7 a.m. So I could never be a swimmer or a cross country person. I picked fencing specifically, so that I wouldn't have to wake up too early. But yeah, I would wake up, I would spend, like a half hour like eating some type of little bar or something. And then I would go to the fencing center and get a lesson from my coach, and we would do footwork, and my sister was there also, so we would do it together a lot of times. So at least it wasn't super lonely, which it would have been for sure, just doing it by myself.
What's your sister's name for our viewers? Just if they want to look. All right.
Yeah, she's 2 years younger.
Okay.
Than me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
All right.
So yeah, we would spend like 2.5 hours at the training center in the morning. Then we would go home, be starving, like ravish some food, and then we would come back and do weights, weight training, and strength and conditioning, and like some type of flexibility, something or another, just to make sure we're nice and loose, and some like rolling out to get the muscles all warmed up, and all sorts of things. Then sometimes we would, if we were at like a training camp, we would get this is when we would get massages or some type of recovery, something.
Okay.
But yeah, that weight training and strength and conditioning would be about another 2 hours. And then we would spend another hour with recovery, so about 3 hours. And then we would go home and eat something because we were freaking starving again.
Right.
This is the time where we would like kind of relax for a little bit. So we would take the dogs, both of us had dogs. Right. Take the dogs for walks, take them out together. They would go, we lived in Texas, so there's a lot of open space for them to run around. So we would keep our sanity, going outside. And then we would get ready for evening practice, which was another 2.5 hours.
Oh, wait, there's another evening practice after these 9 hours?
We're not done yet. So the actual fencing, we hadn't fenced yet at this point. The actual fencing was in the evening.
Okay.
We would do that for another 2 hours.
Okay.
And that would include warm up, a little bit of footwork, and then like an hour and a half to 2 hours of like straight fencing, bouting, bouting, sparring.
Okay.
With other people.
Okay. So if my calculations are right, it looks like you're looking at anywhere between 10 to 13 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's not a big deal at all. That's like, half my day. And how long? So when you are in such intense physical activity, does the amount of sleep that you need go up, or are you sticking to 8-hour schedules, or is it less?
I always try to aim for 8.
8. Okay.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Right. All right. And how do you, just taking your dog, you said you take your dogs out to unwind. Is there any other way? Do you watch TV? Do you,
I don't know.
Watch TED Talks? Do you just pick
That's what my
up?
sister does. My sister watches TikToks. Me, I'm more of like I don't know. I'm super into like weird nerdy stuff. So like anime or Pokemon. Okay.
Awesome.
Something dumb like that.
All right. So that's pretty cool. So that's a really long day. This is, and you've been
exhausting,
and you're still continuing to do more or less the same regimen.
I've switched gears. Like instead of training all day, now I study all day.
Right.
Well, school and study.
That's fantastic. That's what we like to hear at St. James. But so again, people talk about the Olympic Village a lot. Can you give us some idea what goes on in the Olympic Village? Quality of life. Apparently, coaches are barking at you all the time, controlling what you eat, breathe, sleep, wear. Is that all of that true?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. I mean, every Olympic Games is pretty similar, except the last one, which was in Tokyo, which had the whole COVID thing. That was very odd.
Okay.
That was an odd experience, mostly because it was it was a bubble.
Okay.
So we couldn't leave the village. We were all stuck in there, and some people, they would test positive and they would be taken away and put in who knows where. We didn't see them again for a while. They would go somewhere and recover, I hope.
Were they normal? Were they behaving normally, or did they act like zombies?
No. One of them was a fencer, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he managed to be able to fence the actual day.
Okay.
So that was lucky.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just a weird feeling behind the entire Olympics.
Right. That makes sense.
Which was too bad, because Tokyo is an amazing city, and it would have been absolutely awesome to actually travel around Japan and enjoy the culture, and which is usually the best part about the Olympics, is you get to be immersed in the culture. As soon as you're done competing, you get to, however many days your federation will let you hang out, you get to go around whatever city you're in and really enjoy yourself.
With your prior Olympics, how much time did you spend after the Olympics were over just exploring the city?
Let's see. In London, we ended up only staying for a few more days, which was a mistake. In hindsight, I wish we had, because that's where we got the medal.
Okay.
So that would have been like a great place to celebrate and party.
Right.
Which is what everyone does. I mean, the best part about the Olympics isn't the competition; it's post-competition.
Okay, that's what I heard too. That's what I heard.
Without a doubt. Yeah. So that was the saddest part about Tokyo. You had to leave immediately after you competed. Within like 48 hours. Okay. They kicked you out. Well, because there was only so many athletes allowed in the village at one time. I see. Protocols. So yeah, that was the sad part.
But in your defense, no one could foresee what would happen.
I mean,
next year. So
really, like Tokyo did an amazing job with what they were given. Okay. So no complaints with how Tokyo handled it.
Right. And so tell us more about this celebratory phase after the Olympics are over. Because my understanding was that once the Olympics are over, every athlete in the relevant discipline has to vacate the space, and then that might be taken over by another one.
Well, times have so it used to be like, if you were, let's say, because on a fencing team there's 3 people, but then the 4th is the alternate. Mm-hmm. The 4th is technically not considered an Olympian unless they get put in to actually fence. Okay. So someone gets taken out and the alternate gets put in, and then they're officially an Olympian. Okay. But it used to be where that alternate couldn't even come into the village. Okay. Until they were put in, they get the Olympic credentials, then they can come in. But then the person who got pushed out, they switch credentials, and that person can't be in the village anymore. Oh, okay. It's insane. Like, that's so sad for the poor alternate or whoever gets pulled out of it. So but then in Rio or London, they changed that. Everyone could be in, the alternates could be in, the coaches could be in for a little bit. So it was much more fun in London and Rio. Yeah, everyone got to be in the village. And, yeah.
So after the Olympics are over, how much time do athletes get to spend? I mean, non-COVID times. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Tokyo was, you said, 48 hours, but before that, London and Rio, how much time did you guys get to spend at the village? Yeah, so are all the other country participants, enjoying themselves?
Is it in Rio, I mean, I think it depends on people's federations and how long they let them stay. Mm-hmm. But our federation, our event in fencing is the very first few days. Okay. So we're done. Right. At the very beginning, which is awesome. Right. Get it out of the way. Get the horrible part out of the way, or potentially the best part out of the way, and then get to just freaking party. Right. Which is so well deserved after how many months and years of training and working so hard. Okay. And being so disciplined. So for Rio, we got to spend 2 weeks there, just hanging out and enjoying life in the village. Oh, and hopping over to Ipanema, and Rio was fun. Okay. Rio was a great place to spend anytime. So that was a fun one. But unfortunately, we had a really, really tough loss. So we were still struggling with that, the emotions of that loss, but the city itself is still fun. Okay. And so if an Olympian is, say, the last day of the Olympics, just before the closing ceremony, is it traditionally, are you guys just asked to leave in 48, 20, 72 hours? Yeah, you leave the next day after the closing ceremonies. Everyone leaves. That's a little, sad, isn't it? I mean, time to get the heck out. The country's done with you. So in London, did you walk around with your Olympic medal? Hey, I got a medal, give me a discount or something, or I don't want to stand in that line. Actually, when I came back to the U.S., my friends and I, we did some sort of road trip, and we went to some club one night, and I had my medal with me. And I was like, just in case we need to cut some lines or something. But the one guy that was being such a butthead, he was like, "Oh, what's fencing?" Okay, guy. What's your Olympic sport? Where's your Olympic medal?
What club is this? Let's all boycott this club, whatever this club is.
LA, I think it was. No, not LA. Oh my God. Yeah, it was in LA. It was.
Okay, so we talked about fencing a lot, and then now that you're changing gears, and you're thinking about medicine. Why medicine?
My dad was a doctor.
So wait, your dad was a doctor and a fencer? Yeah. And you're being, this is really, I know, this is really impressive. And how, So was your dad a doctor first and then a fencer, or did he become a fencer and then a doctor?
Question. I think he was a doctor first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to make that phone call tonight and ask your dad.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to remember the storyline here. I'm pretty sure he was a doctor first, and then he didn't start fencing until much later in life, like maybe 40.
My God. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're really flipping the script here.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is really impressive. So, with all the discipline and hard work that you've put into fencing, and in my opinion, I think medicine is one of the professions where you really, really have to work hard, just like fencing, for a very long, prolonged period of time, which obviously you're no stranger to. What is your impression now that you're getting into? Which semester are you in right now?
I'm in between 3 and 4.
Okay, so you're MD3 essentially.
Yeah.
And do you think that the discipline and the hard work that you've put in fencing has helped you with your preparation for medicine?
Without a doubt. It's a very comparable feeling as far as motivation, determination. I refuse to let med school beat me.
Okay.
Just like with I would say dealing with loss.
Okay.
Is something that really translates. In med school, you can have a couple of bad, test grades or results and then just be so in your head and just spiral downwards and really lose yourself.
Okay.
But having been, in the athletic world for so long and having to deal with losses all the time, you just have to pull yourself out of that and not let yourself dwell on it and just focus on, you know, what you can do to improve.
Right.
And so that has been a major help.
Okay. So would you say that throughout your academic endeavors, not just for you, but for most medical students, do you think that there is a lot of downs for most medical students?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially in the beginning when you're
really?
getting the hang of it,
Okay.
You're not used to how tough the school can truly be.
Okay.
I mean, because I had my MPH, I've obviously been through undergrad and everything, but then when I jumped right into med school, I was oh my God.
Really?
I was not expecting how tough this was. Thank goodness I did go through something like fencing to just to know that I can do this. I can do this. If I just commit myself to this, I can do this.
Okay. What advice would you have for someone who is, this is not, obviously, St. James is not a school full of Olympians. So someone who hasn't had to go through the rigors of such a strong, disciplined activity, what advice would you have for them? For example, your classmates, most of them are none of them are Olympic medalists. However, you might be interested to know there are a couple of world champions within. Yeah. We have a couple of folks in other sports. In the past we've had a person who was in a national soccer team, the U.S. soccer team. But this was a while ago. Then we have somebody who now who is actually preparing for the weightlifting world championships.
Really?
So we do have, and our school seems to attract a lot of folks like yourself. And from my experience, I've seen that they're extraordinarily successful because of the incredible discipline that they've had. But
it translates.
Yes, we definitely see that from the numbers. But what would you give? What advice would you give to a person who's? And I'm going to be honest. I have an undergraduate. I have a master's. They're not. I wouldn't call them easy, but they're nothing compared.
I would compared to this.
Comparatively,
I took it for granted back in the day.
Absolutely, and comparatively, I would. It can't even compare. But what kind of advice would you give to people who have bachelor's and master's that are most of your classmates? How do they bring that focus? How do they take themselves to the next level? And how do they, because interestingly, we were just talking about studying for similar number of hours that you were saying that you practice.
Yeah.
Or you practiced.
Yeah, I can't imagine shortcuts.
Yeah.
Help too much in this. It's the same in fencing. Shortcuts aren't going to get you anywhere.
That's
you
really,
have to just accept that you need to work hard.
That's really impressive. So tell me about island life. So you obviously were a part of St. James when COVID had hit. So we did this hybrid. I don't know, did you want to come back to the island? Did you not want to come back to the island?
I wanted to come.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to come. That's the reason why I was interested in St. James in the first place. I was bummed out actually in the beginning when I found out it was all being online. But yeah, like I said, online ended up being pretty cool. But I wish there was like a hybrid online and on the beach. That would be pretty awesome. Y'all need to figure that out.
Well, I mean, our accreditors may not necessarily like that idea too much. But the thing is that as far as when you did the classes online and when you came and studied here in person, was there a significant difference? Was it harder in person? Was it easier in person?
That's a good question. I
always ask good questions.
Yeah, I'm noticing this. I would say it was actually tougher being here. I'm not really quite sure. I guess because you're juggling a lot of other things, like living in a different place and a whole bunch of other responsibilities that you need to like juggle on top of like. Whereas at home you're comfortable. Things are the same. Nothing's changed. You have your own like routine going. You don't have to worry about like socializing and dealing with like other people, which is always exhausting. For some people, it's very exhausting. Right. So yeah, it's easier to focus. I would say. Well, not for everyone. Some people are not able to focus as well when they're at home.
Okay, so statistically, and now we have very compelling data that we have say 17, 18, 19, which are all in-person classes, and then we have 20, 21, 2 years of data that is all remote classes. We've actually seen passing rates go down with at home. Because again, I mean, not everyone is an Olympian. Not everyone really has the discipline.
Yeah, maybe that's just my personal experience.
And that's the thing. That's why we were like, well, maybe we need to give our students the best chance of success, and we want them to come here. And I think you've really been, personally, you've been very enthusiastic about coming back to the island. I wish all students.
No, I was definitely excited about it.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, yes, you are establishing yourself here again, but at the same time, I think just being with the students who are like-minded around you. It sounds like you're an introvert, though.
Well, really? Interesting. So, I was just about to say something before you said that. Like, I as far as dealing with other people, the people that are here. I mean, I socialize to an extent, but I don't I mostly focus on school. When I'm here, I'm focusing on school. So after classes are done, I go home and I study.
So do you think?
So maybe that's introverted.
No. So if you find dealing with others draining, that's the classic definition of an introvert.
Sometimes I do, yeah.
So that means you're an introvert. Yeah. If you're energized by...
I'm definitely not energized.
You're definitely an introvert. But if you think, would you think that surrounding yourself with students is beneficial? Because maybe if you have an issue and a professor is not available, you can just walk over in the library and talk to somebody.
I think it's also just more realistic. I mean, like the real world isn't going to be in your living room. Like it's time to get outside and experience other people. Like that's what being a doctor is. You have to learn how to deal with people. That's it. If you don't know how to deal with people, well, how great are you going to be able to be a physician? Right. So, I mean, I completely think that med school should be in person. Okay. I'm definitely for it. Like a hybrid would be really great, but that would be best. But ultimately, I think the most important thing is to learn how to deal with not only your classes and your academics, but how to get along with people and how to interact.
Okay. Do you have a specialty in mind for medicine when you're?
I kind of want to combine. So I have an MPH, and I would love to combine the two somehow. Okay. I would like to get involved with communities and do some type of program. With health and
right. You know what? I mean, one thing in my experience I've seen is that most hospitals actually do not have CEOs and CFOs and administrators who are doctors or medically qualified.
So I'll rule them all.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with this. I mean, this is such a great way to give back to the community. There's so many community hospitals out there, and if you are an MD and you're making, I personally think you're making better decisions. It just makes logical sense, I think. But again, I've never been an administrator at a hospital, but there might be reasons why that's not really the case. We might explore that in a couple of other episodes of our podcast where we do have former students who are taking the more administrative route
Yeah, that
after
would be
becoming
interesting.
finishing their residency.
Yeah, I would love to talk to somebody who's
Yeah.
involved.
Oh, definitely. We'll definitely get you in touch with some of those folks. We'll have them on our podcast as well. But anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It
was my pleasure.
It's been an honor. And, we are wishing you all the success. And so far, you have been incredibly successful in every endeavor that you've taken. And we're wishing you more success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on our
Thanks,
show.
guys.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Thank you. And remember, as Kelley said earlier, there's no shortcut to being an MD.
Thank you so much for tuning into our show. We hope you enjoyed another episode of Med School Minutes. If you like our content, please follow us and receive notification when a new show is posted. This podcast is brought to you by St. James School of Medicine. For a video version of this podcast, please check us out on sjsm.org/video.